On the open grasslands of Central Asia, there were no castles, no stone walls, no great cities, only wind, sky, and riders. From this emptiness came an army that would shake the medieval world. Within a few decades, the Mongols built the largest land empire in history, stretching from the Pacific Ocean to the heart of Europe. Their enemies called them a horde, a storm, even a punishment from heaven. But behind the terror was something more precise, a highly organized war machine built on speed, discipline, and cold calculation. This is the story of Genghis Khan's war machine, the Mongol Horde that changed how wars were fought from China to the Middle East and beyond. Around 1162, a boy named Temujin is born on the Mongol steppe. His people live in felt tents, moving with their herds, bound together by fragile alliances and fierce clan rivalries. When Temujin is still a child, his father is poisoned by enemies. The family is abandoned by their tribe and left to survive alone on the plains. Temujin grows up hungry, hunted, and determined. Through a mix of courage, ruthlessness, and political skill, he begins to gather followers, men who see in him a leader stronger than any tribal chief. By the early 1200s, he defeats or absorbs rival clans, uniting the fractious steppe tribes under his authority. In 1206, at a great council called a Kurultai, he is proclaimed Genghis Khan, universal ruler. With unity achieved at home, his gaze turns outward. The Mongols had always raided neighboring lands, but Genghis Khan intends more than raids. He wants a state, and to keep his warriors loyal, he must reward them with new pasture, new wealth, and new enemies to conquer. To do this, he reshapes the Mongol way of war. Instead of loose tribal bands, he organizes his forces into a strict decimal system. Units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000 men. These are called Arban, Zun, Mingan, and Tumen. Leaders are chosen for ability and loyalty, not simply birth. A man who fights well can rise from commoner to commander. A noble who disobeys can be executed, no matter his lineage. Genghis Khan enforces harsh discipline. Looting without permission, abandoning a comrade, or retreating without orders can all be punished by death. At the same time, he insists that commanders share hardships with their men. This combination of strict rules and shared danger inside the ranks forges a powerful bond inside the ranks. The core of this war machine is the Mongol horse archer. From childhood, Mongols learn to ride almost as soon as they can walk. They practice shooting from the saddle at full gallop, turning in every direction, loosing arrows while clinging to a horse with their knees. Their weapon is the composite bow, made of wood, horn, and sinew, carefully glued and wrapped. Short enough to use on horseback, but tremendously powerful, it can send arrows accurately across great distances. Mongol quivers carry different arrowheads for different purposes: armor-piercing, broad-bladed, even whistling arrows used for signals or fear. Each warrior typically has several horses, switching mounts during long rides so none tire too quickly. This gives Mongol armies astonishing range. They can cover 100 kilometers in a day, outmaneuvering slower infantry and heavy cavalry. Logistics, often the weak point in pre-modern armies, becomes one of their strengths. Mongol troops carry dried meat, fermented mare's milk, and hard cheese. Their herds travel with them, providing fresh animals and food. They travel light without long baggage trains, able to move where conventional armies would starve. On campaign, Genghis Khan uses scouts and messengers to maintain a high-speed information network. Riders relay orders across great distances, while scouts map rivers, passes, and enemy positions. When multiple Mongol columns advance hundreds of kilometers apart, they still manage to strike the same target on the same day, giving the impression of a coordinated, unstoppable swarm. In battle, they rarely charge blindly. Instead, they probe, encircle, and exhaust. A favorite tactic is the feigned retreat. A Mongol unit attacks, then pretends to panic and flee. If enemy forces break formation to pursue, the retreating riders turn in the saddle and shower them with arrows, while hidden reserves strike from the flanks. Against rigid medieval armies used to straightforward clashes, this kind of maneuver is devastating. Heavy cavalry are lured away from infantry support. Disciplined ranks dissolve into scattered groups. Commanders lose control. But the Mongol war machine is not just about open-field battles. To conquer cities and empires, Genghis Khan needs siege power. Early on, Mongols have little experience storming walls, so when they invade northern China, they recruit or capture Chinese and Khitan engineers. These specialists bring knowledge of catapults, battering rams, siege towers, and early gunpowder weapons. Soon, Mongol armies travel with mobile workshops, building engines from local timber. Stone-throwing trebuchets pound fortifications. Sappers tunnel beneath walls, collapsing towers. Smoke bombs, fire arrows, and even primitive explosive shells appear in their toolbox. Genghis Khan also understands the psychological side of war. In some cases, he offers cities a choice: surrender and pay tribute, or resist and face total destruction. If a city fights and is taken by storm, the Mongols may kill many of its defenders and sometimes large parts of its population. Word of such massacres spreads fast, encouraging other cities to submit without a fight. The result is a terrifying reputation, part deliberate strategy, part brutal reality. While the real level of destruction varies from place to place, chronicles across Eurasia remember burned fields, ruined irrigation works, and shattered populations. Yet, alongside this violence, Genghis Khan's system contains a surprising degree of flexibility. Artisans, scribes, and engineers are often spared and resettled to serve the Mongol state. Merchants are offered protection and standardized taxes to encourage trade along the Silk Road. Religious tolerance is broadly practiced. Buddhists, Muslims, Christians, and others are allowed to worship as long as they do not challenge Mongol authority. A body of law called the Yasa, part code, part tradition, governs behavior. Laws against theft, adultery, and disrupting trade. Rules about sharing spoils, obligations to military service. Enforcement is often harsh, but the aim is clear: a stable, obedient foundation for expansion. By the time of Genghis Khan's death in 1227, his war machine has already destroyed the Khwarezmian Empire in Central Asia, smashed powerful steppe rivals, and carved deep into northern China. But the Mongol advance does not stop. Under his sons and grandsons, Mongol armies push farther west and south. They defeat Russian princes on frozen rivers, ride into the plains of Hungary and Poland, and capture cities from Kiev to Baghdad. In 1241, Europe sees Mongol cavalry on its doorstep. Only the sudden death of the Great Khan in Mongolia and the need to choose a new leader halt their westward drive. Everywhere they go, the same pattern appears: rapid marches, coordinated columns, careful use of intelligence, and ruthless exploitation of weakness. But this empire of horses and arrows also changes the world in other ways. Once the major conquests are complete, the Mongol domains link east and west more directly than ever before. Caravans travel under the protection of Mongol law from China to the Mediterranean. Paper money, gunpowder, printing techniques, and new crops move along revived trade routes. Travelers like Marco Polo cross Asia and later describe a world of bustling cities and complex administration under Mongol rule. Still, the empire rests on force. Internal rivalries, succession struggles, and the sheer size of the territories make unity difficult to maintain. Over time, the Mongol state fragments into several khanates in China, Persia, Central Asia, and the steppes north of the Black Sea. Local cultures reassert themselves. Former conquerors gradually adopt the religions and customs of the lands they rule. Yet the methods pioneered by Genghis Khan's war machine leave a long legacy. The importance of mobility and logistics, the value of intelligence networks, the power of psychological warfare, and the idea of promoting officers by ability rather than birth, these concepts echo through later centuries. Many commanders study Mongol campaigns to learn how a relatively small steppe people could defeat larger, richer civilizations. The story of the Mongol Horde is not simple heroism nor simple brutality. It is both. Ingenuity and organization used for conquest on a massive scale. It brought new connections to Eurasia, and it left deep scars that lasted for generations. On the empty steppe where it began, the wind still moves through the grass as it did in Genghis Khan's time. The horses and riders are gone, but the memory of their war machine, the speed, the discipline, the shock, still shapes how we think about empire, power, and the cost of victory.